time.
Slings it way down the field to Watkins. Sammy Watkins for the touchdown.
You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Today's factoid. Did you know that Andy Reid is 20-3 coming off a bye in his career? I'm sure he did. It's talked about a lot, but he's also 12-1 at home coming after the bye in his career. It's something to feel good about as the Chiefs take on the Tennessee Titans on Sunday Night Football. This is KCSN Update, your daily Chiefs podcast and video from us here at KC Sports Network. I'm BJ Kissel, founder of KC Sports Network and former Chiefs insider and sideline reporter. And it's Thursday, and normally you would see Tucker Franklin handling KCSN Update on Thursdays, but subbing in for him today. And we have got a special guest to help us break down the Chiefs and Titans matchup on Sunday night in ESPN's Turron Davenport, who not only covers the Titans, but is one of the best beat writers out there. He breaks down film, he knows the game, and he understands what's going on. And you can see that in the way that he covers the team, both on social media and obviously with his content over at ESPN. Excited to have Turron join us this week. But before we bring him on, here's a quick word from our friends at DraftKings. You can make every play on the field, like a Patrick Mahomes deep shot, as exciting with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and their unbeatable offers. Right now, new customers can bet any $5 NFL bet and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. And check this out. In addition to the usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Chiefs are heavy favorites Sunday night against the Titans. Last check, 12.5 points with an over-under at 46. That has moved quite a bit throughout the last week or so since that line was created. But to make things even sweeter, you can throw down on those stepped-up same-game parlays once per game day all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code KCSN to get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Just place a $5 bet on any football game. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook using code KCSN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, now let's welcome on Turron Davenport from ESPN. You can find him on Twitter at @TDavenport_NFL, plus his work over at ESPN. Man, before we get into this, it's been a minute. How are things for you down in Nashville?
Man, life is great, man. I thank God every day. First thing I do when I wake up, man, you can't help but smile because I always have this motto, right? I woke up, so I won. So, yeah, man, life is great, man. I hope everything's awesome with you as well.
Yeah, like we said before we recorded, the kids are good. The wife is good. So everybody's happy. So everything's working well. Just trying to, build this little company. You and I have known each other a little bit. We've got a lot of mutual friends. And I was telling you before, I said it right off the top during the intro, man, but really respect the hell out of what you do and how you do it. Not many beat writers put the amount of work into the film breakdowns and all the different things that you do to educate Titans fans. Titans fans are lucky to have you on the beat, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. It's all love, man. I just love what I do. So it's not work, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you could tell when guys just love the game,
and
they want to put the work into it, and you're definitely one of those dudes. But as we talk about this game on Sunday night between the Chiefs and Titans, two teams, at least offensively, built in entirely different ways right now. When this game's on the schedule for you and you're thinking about this just top of mind, what intrigues you the most high level about this matchup between the Chiefs and Titans on Sunday night?
I think it's just the styles matching up, right? You have I don't want to call them finesse, but you have a very high-powered, high-wired, fast-break offense in the Chiefs. And you look at that and compare it to what the Titans do, and it's just all about physicality, effort, and finish. That's Mike Vrabel's motto, the mindset that echoes throughout the whole building. It's just the way it is, and I just love the way these matchups work to where you have a team in the Titans that have what I call a pack-and-play style, where you always want to pack your defense and you pack your rushing attack. Those are their two best things, and that tends to match up well on the road. So just seeing those styles and how it makes a fight, that's what intrigues me the most.
All right, let's talk about the Titans offense. Let's start with Derrick Henry. Obviously leading league in rushing, just doing everything that he's doing, or at the top of the league in rushing. It's easy for casual fans to look at what he's done. He has 4 straight 100-yard games, had the huge game against Houston again. Besides the obvious things that we can look at, what makes him and what they do, because if they're not blocking up front, if they're not doing things if the other 10 guys aren't doing their jobs, he can't do what he does. So besides Derrick Henry just being, a beast, 6'3", 247, fast, big, all those things, what's the key to what the Titans do offensively, particularly in the running game, outside of Derrick Henry just being a physical freak of nature?
Well, I'll tell you what's happening. Initially, he was getting hit at or behind the line of scrimmage. Through the first 3 games, it was like 27 out of 54 times. So that was the problem. And if you look at how they set, I wish you could come to practice and see, because they actually have a box that's about 8 yards from the line of scrimmage, the strip that they lay out. And that box is to get their running backs trained and conditioned. All right, I'm 8 yards back. But the reason why they have it that way is so that a guy like Derrick Henry could get momentum going towards the line. And if you watch how he's squirting through some of these holes that they're opening up, I mean, this dude is through him. And when you got 6'3", 247 pounds, moving, getting downhill, it's hard to stop that. And that's what's happening. So he gets to the second level, and the blocks, everything is timed up so well. And that's the other thing you have to look at, because it's a lot like tumblers in a lot, right? Because you need everything to be all in sync, and then it unlocks. And you're seeing him stretch the runs, put that foot in the ground, and cut it back. And that cutback lane opens, and it's poetry in motion, man. It's really fun to watch, like the end zone copy of that. So that's what's happening. And then he's getting to the second level, and he's running well, not exploding like long runs like he typically gets. He's got caught a couple times in the little ankle tackles and things like that. But I mean, that's really what's happening.
Cool. I remember talking just when I was with the Chiefs and talking to the defensive guys, and they'd always say, kind of to your point, how do you slow him down? It's like, you got to stop his feet. Yep. You can't let him get that momentum going through that first line of the defense, because, a half man, half body, throwing a shoulder into a guy ain't going to work if he's got a full steam ahead. You're not going to slow him down at all, even if it's, Chris Jones, even if it's one of the defensive tackles. They need to stop his feet and then let everybody rally around him. Offensive line, know that there have been different injuries. Obviously, all teams at some level have different injuries, but what's been the key for those guys up front? And what has them playing so well to allow Derrick Henry to get that momentum and not necessarily stop his feet being the key to what he does?
Yeah, I think it's that guard center guard combo. It starts with Ben Jones, though. He's the ultimate pro. The guy goes through all kinds of things, but manages to play every game. I don't know how he does it, but it starts with him and the blocks that he's able to do. Aaron Brewer, the left guard, he's undersized, but he's oversized in heart. So you're seeing that. And Nate Davis has been an outstanding blocker as well. So these guys are really instrumental in making sure those cutback lanes are open for him. So I think that's where it is. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, the rookie right tackle out of Ohio State, they're starting to be able to print T-shirts and hats that say "Run Right." Taylor Lewan used to do "Run Left." They could do "Run Right," because that is opening up really well for them. So that's really what it is. And even Dennis Daly, the guy they traded for from Carolina, he's filled in at left tackle, and he's had his ups and downs, but he has some good blocks last week.
Because obviously being an unbiased media reporter like you are, if you're looking at this game up front, looking at guys like Chris Jones, mainly just what he does, very similar to what your guy does on the defensive side, and Jeffery Simmons. Where do you see the key matchup being? What do you see the Titans trying to do to slow him down a little bit?
Yeah, Chris Jones is crazy, man. That's a really good player. And go figure, a fellow Mississippi State guy, along with Jeffery Simmons. Yeah. But I think that's really where the key is, those interior guys against him. They have to be able to move him and get him, from being able to clog up those cutback lanes. It's so important, like when they run that inside zone and things like that. You'll see him work kind of like wham blocks and things like that, where they'll bring the tight end across. And Jones, I think that he has a free run, and out of nowhere, the tight end comes in and hits him, that's how they're going to attack it. But the matchup is it's Chris Jones against the interior part of the offensive line.
If again, from a casual, point of view, and it's saying, how do you slow it down? Okay, bring your safeties down. I'm sure this isn't the first time, defense have thought about this. Bring the safeties down and challenge Ryan Tannehill. And these receivers, obviously not having AJ Brown this year, having one touchdown from a wide receiver. We could say that as Chiefs fans, we went an entire season, I think back in 2013 or 2014, that we did not have a touchdown from a wide receiver. I know Robert Woods has got the one, but is that too simple of a way of looking at it from a defensive standpoint? Bring the safeties down and make Ryan Tannehill throw the ball down and beat you.
See, here's the thing. When you bring those safeties down, from 12 yards off the ball to 8 or what have you, now you're kind of eliminating that last line of defense, right? Because they're basically right there at the second level of the defense.
Yep.
Go figure. Derrick Henry gets to the second level of the defense. A lot of times previously, he would break the long runs. I mean, if you look at a lot of his long runs, it was against stack boxes. You look at guys like Adrian Peterson, it's the same way. These big guys that have speed, that are able to break the tackles. Once they get to that second level, they break that tackle. It's a foot race, and typically those guys will win it. So you can do that, but it's not always going to be a successful thing. And they block it up so well also, because you got to remember they're blocking spaces for the most part and not men. So that space is still going to be vacated,
Yeah, I know I just made the assumption that Ryan Tannehill is going to play. Is that the expectation? I know he's got the ankle injury and Malik Willis starting last week, but do you expect Tannehill to play on Sunday?
Yeah, I expect him to play. I definitely expect him. He said yesterday that it was the ankle that kept him from playing, but rest assured, it was the illness. He practiced on Wednesday and practiced on Thursday, had a heavily tape. Then he didn't practice on Friday, and he missed the walkthrough on Saturday, and they left him here in Nashville when they went to Houston. It was the illness. But if he were to say it was the illness, obviously when you have a stomach bug, it's not for 7 days, so you can put 2 and 2 together and get 4 and know that he's going to play. So it's this playing for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going around, though. There's a lot of illness. My sister's a teacher out here. I guess they got like 100 kids out of their school sick right now, and my daughter's school's got a lot of kids out.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, let's flip to the other side of the. Actually, I want to wide receivers. I want to talk about them specifically. Just what is your just impression of what you've seen from the Titans wide receivers? Obviously, Julio Jones was there, not there anymore, there for a little bit, and then AJ Brown being the big one, seeing what he's doing in Philly. What have you seen from that group this year? And is this an area that you feel like Steve Spagnuolo? I'm sure you've studied and know he is not afraid to send pressure and cover zero in the red zone. He does all kinds of aggressive things, and he leaves these young DBs. It looks like Trent McDuffie is going to be back. Basically played a half of football, got injured in the first half against the Cardinals in week 1. He's going to put him on an island by just blitzing the house, because it's the only way they've really been getting a lot of pressures, by sending extra guys. Are these Titans wide receivers, are they good enough to beat one-on-one coverage when Steve Spagnuolo sends extra guys?
Yeah, and that's the big question. L'Jarius Sneed, awesome corner. People don't know about him, but he's really good. He's very sticky. He's aggressive. I've always been impressed by him. But I tell you what, Josh Williams on the flip side, he's all right, man.
Yeah.
He is all right. I like him a lot. 6'3", 193 pounds. Fayetteville State he came from, HBCU. Shout out. Got to give that. And these receivers, though, you mentioned Tannehill and the receivers being challenged and dropping the safeties in the box, coming up one-on-one. I'm going to try to be calm because it's something that you take personally as a receiver. But, I mean, if it's me and you and you're over top of me and there's no safety over here, that's the equivalent to you putting your hand in my pocket. And if somebody puts their hand in your pocket, typically you have to take action. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're not doing that. And it's killing me to watch it. I asked these guys, like, do you not take this personally? And they said they do. And I asked Coach Todd Downing, I asked Tanner, hey, are you guys, check back shoulder, something? We have to make teams pay. That's the mindset that you have to have. But unfortunately, they don't have it. And I mean, you got big Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, a bigger receiver. I'm not saying he's a premier playmaker, but he's a bigger receiver. Back shoulder, take a shot. Cody Hollister, a bigger receiver. Chris Conley, a bigger receiver. Take a chance with these guys, and it's not happening. And even Robert Woods, he's someone that's a really good route runner. They're just not taking those shots, and it just doesn't seem like they're taking that personally. And just, as a receiver, that's the ultimate sign of disrespect.
Yeah, I know he hadn't been there that long, but somebody's been around Chris Conley a little bit. It was one of my favorite dudes, one of my favorite interviews.
Awesome.
You'll always get something genuine, something authentic, thoughtful, all of that. Love that dude.
He's really cool to talk to. Very thoughtful. The first day he was in the locker room, I asked him about the speed dating process, getting to know your quarterback quickly, and great answers there. And then he said, I believe I'm the best blocking receiver in the league. I've always believed that, and that remains. Yeah. And, hey, I mean, this is the place where you definitely have to take pride in blocking.
To do that. Yeah. Quick story. When my son was, I think he may have been like 1 or 2 years old, before a Chiefs game, I had him down on the sideline. I was walking around them, and Chris was like was doing the kickoff warm-ups. It's maybe 45 minutes, an hour before the game. Takes his helmet off, walks out of line, comes up, introduces himself to my son, says hi. Team photographer took a picture. I didn't know until he showed me afterwards, and I've got the picture to this day. And for whatever reason, I know it sounds weird because my son, I think he was probably like 2.5 at that time. I know it sounds weird because he was so young, but my son remembers that. Wow. And like he has talked about before, being like Chris Conley being one of his favorite players. Now, we've talked about it after I've showed them the picture. I'm like, it's Chris Conley. I don't have the heart to tell him Chris Conley doesn't play for the Chiefs anymore. So he's a little bit older now. He's old enough now where he could kind of start to figure it out. But the Madden we have that we play all the time is a few years old. So he's still on that roster. So I haven't figured it out yet. But Chris Conley is one of my son's favorite players. And again, when he came back there for a little bit, I was like, oh, good. I don't have to explain to him like, hey, Chris isn't with the Chiefs anymore. But yeah, anyway, let's before we move on. Yeah, he's a good dude. Before we move on to the other side, let's take a quick break so we can pay some bills here at KC Sports Network. All right, we're back, and now let's talk a little bit about the other side of the ball. Let's talk about this Titans defense that starts up front with their guys, and obviously they've got a challenge with Patrick Mahomes in this offense. We're biased. We talk about it all the time, but we also try to not normalize greatness around here at Turron, because I think anybody who follows the game understands what we're seeing from Patrick Mahomes combined with Andy Reid and Travis Kelce, that this is not normal with the kind of numbers and what they've been doing. From your perspective, again, high level, and then we'll start to dig into it. What stands out to you most about the way that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense has been operating this season?
I think the fact that they're continuing the show without Tyreek Hill. I really thought that things were going to change for Kelce with Hill not being there. So I think that's the big thing. And just the way Mahomes is just able to, no matter what, find a way to get the football where it has to go. That's what's supremely impressive to me. So I would say that's really the main thing with the passing game. And just, I mean, you look at that goal line throw he had where he just kind of, I don't know what he did, but he managed to get the ball to the receiver for the touchdown. It was crazy a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he has tendency to do that. And I would argue that you put up his career highlights so far, at 27 years old, up against any quarterback in NFL history from some of the stuff that we've seen from that guy. And I know that locally, a lot of fans are tired of hearing about Tyreek Hill and this and that. And not necessarily because of what he's doing in Miami, but just because of what you just said, and that so much was made this offseason about, well, the offense isn't going to be, it's not even the deep shots, because when you really looked into the analytics, they weren't taking deep shots all the time to Tyreek, but it was the threat of those deep shots where you could throw a quick, just hike the ball, get it to him quickly, not even like a slip or a bubble screen, just get the ball to him because there's so much space. He's going to get 7-8 easy yards all the time, where it's like they don't have the ability to pick up those easy yards. So what are they going to do? Well, they were completely remade the physical makeup of their wide receivers. MVS, bigger, more physical guy. Obviously, Juju Smith-Schuster, bigger, more physical guy. And for those that I had talked to that have been around Mahomes, to talk to him at like, the lack of a better explanation, the X's and O's level, and that his mental acuity to play that position probably never got enough credit, because it was such a get the ball to the most explosive player to ever play the game. And that is Tyreek. Nobody moves like that dude, and nobody's going to do anything. He's always going to put up numbers, but it was going to take Mahomes he can't get those easy yards anymore. And so I know Chiefs fans are tired of hearing about it, but we're seeing the maturation of Mahomes in a lot of ways, but we're also seeing what was always there. And now it's, we don't have to try to get the ball because we feel pressure that we should be getting the ball to a player with those physical abilities. And now the ball is being spread out a little bit more. And Travis Kelce is just the greatest to ever do it. I think it's like the fourth time I've said the greatest to ever do it. But what impresses you? You're shaking your head. What impresses you most when you watch Travis Kelce on film?
He has this special sauce that he puts on routes. It just makes him so hard to cover, man. And I shake my head because I got to go to the first tight end U. And I watched
him in Nashville. That's right.
Yeah, I watched him go through the details of routes. And the one time he was talking about at the top of the route, how you make a move like this and you plant and you push off. And, he's very animated when he talks. Colorful, too, with the words. And he was just like, you compare it to a pitcher pushing off the mound. And the way he explained, planting and exploding out of your breaks, I was just like, this is cool, man. And my respect for him just elevated even more. I've always loved, he's been one of my favorite tight ends, for quite some time, years now. And just the way he's able to get open, his understanding of how to set people up in man defense, his understanding of how to settle in windows and zone. And then when he catches the ball, he'll get out on you too. He could get to those yards after the catch. So he's just a really an awesome, a great player.
That's cool. That would be special to hear. I've heard a little bit of it, not to that level. And I think I've seen some video clips of him kind of going through that, at least briefly, some of the stuff they did at tight end U. And I've made the point that, he's going to make more money after football. I mean, obviously seeing with his podcast now with his brother, like he is going to be somebody that is on TV, national TV, doing whatever he wants to do.
He has that presence.
Yes. And I had made the point that, he's going to shatter every tight end record there is, depending upon how long he wants to play. And I was like, the way that his game could translate, and this is not a knock on him because Antonio Gates is also one of the 5 best or wherever you want to put him to ever do it. But we saw a, 39, however old he was, like couldn't move real well, but he still found a way to get open. Like Travis Kelce can run a Y stick at 45 years old. Like he'll know where to go. He knows how to read a defense. He can settle in those windows, to your point. The fact that Patrick Mahomes is still going to be there, like Travis Kelce is going to get open at 45. I don't know if he wants to play that long. Hopefully he wants to play for at least a few more years, but he's special.
Really is.
When you talk about the Titans defense, we'll talk a little bit about the Chiefs wide receivers here in a second, but let's flip to what the Titans like to do defensively, because I talked about earlier in the week, looking at some of the Pro Football Focus numbers, one of the top pass rush graded teams on Pro Football Focus. I know it starts with 98 up front with Jeffery Simmons, but let's start with Simmons. Just what makes this guy so good, and why does he not get more love nationally? Because he is within that tier of Chris Jones, Aaron Donald. Like he is that Aaron Donald, maybe a little different, but he is one of those guys that could absolutely wreck a game up front. What makes him so special?
It's just the mix of talent that he has. He told me that he wanted to cut down the weight a little bit so it'd be a little bit faster and more swift, and you could see that. But as soon as he told me that, I say, Big Jeff, what about the power? They don't know the bull rush is still going to be there. And you watch last week's game, it showed you how he could impact the pass game, but also the run. Dameon Pierce had a run between the tackles, and Simmons just grabbed the guard, drove him back, and used the guard as a prop to tackle Pierce. That's the strength that he has. You watch him go against Quentin Nelson. I mean, he's folding Quentin Nelson like a church banquet chair sometimes. Oftentimes, we'll say. So I think it's just that mix. But I'm going to tell you what I feel separates him from most other D tackles. The only other D tackle I've seen that does this consistently is Fletcher Cox. Running receivers down 20 yards down the field. Go back and watch the Commanders game. Terry McLaurin broke about 716 tackles, and Jeffery Simmons tackled him 25 yards down the field. Here's the thing, though. He came back the next play. Carson Wentz scrambled to the left. He ran Carson Wentz down and got a sack by forcing him out of bounds because Wentz couldn't turn the corner. And then the Joker had a nerve to play the next play. I don't remember what he did, but just the fact that he was in the game after running a receiver down 25 yards down
He felt like
going this way 15 yards. Yeah, it's like, hey, man, come on.
take a break. Yeah.
But he didn't, so I think that all combines just what he's able to do against the run and the pass. That makes him unique, man. He's a heck of a player. They rally around him. His effort and finish, go figure. The Mike Vrabel mantra, he's a walking definition of what the Titans want to be, period.
Yeah. Starts with him up front, but obviously he can't do everything himself for you guys to be as good. And I say you guys being the Titans.
No,
but
probably.
For what the Titans love to do, he can't do it all himself. What else stands out about that defense?
Yeah.
Where else are the areas that Chiefs fans should be worried? Because that matchup in particular, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Joe Thuney, that's the strength of the Chiefs offensive line, is that interior. Where they've really struggled have been on the tackles as far as getting pressure. Now, Mahomes is very good at eluding that pressure. He can make plays, obviously, outside the pocket. Everybody has seen that. But outside of Simmons, what makes this defense stand out and has been so successful?
Well, staying on that defensive front, Teair Tart is a budding player. He leads the team in pass breakups as a D tackle. we'll put it to you that way. But, he's another powerful one. He's actually probably stronger than Simmons is, but you got him lining up next to him. They rotate in a guy by the name of Kevin Strong. You got Mario Edwards getting reps in there too. And then on the outside there, Bud Dupree, he doesn't have all the sack numbers, but he's a lot of times the trigger guy on their stunts where he'll come inside and they'll loop around him. And Danico Autry, I would say this: it's hard to be more underrated than Simmons is, but Danico Autry has quietly been one of the most consistent players over the last season and 7 games, and he just on stunts against he's just a really good player, man. Coming off the edge, they bump him inside sometimes. That's really what makes the defense itself is fueled by that front. They're able to play strong against the run with just 4 guys. They could you could rush 4 and drop 7 against the passing game. And you look at the second level of the defense. Watch 51 this week. David Long Jr., outstanding player. He plays like he's on fire, literally. I love watching him play. The secondary, Kevin Byard is right there as one of the best safeties in the league. I'm not sure if Amani Hooker is going to play this week. That could be a big-time problem. But then you look on the outside, Christian Fulton is a very, very good corner. It's funny, a couple weeks ago after the Colts game, we were talking about Sky Moore. I was telling him about how Sky Moore is so swift at the line of scrimmage and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool just talking shop with him because it's like, he doesn't get targeted a lot, so he has to make sure he doesn't fall asleep. And that's unfortunately what happened to him in the season opener. He kind of fell asleep a bit, gave up a 65-yard reception for a touchdown to Sterling Shepard, excuse me. But, I think all levels of the defense, they're really solid, and that's really what makes them so good. And running the football against them is hard to do.
Yeah, we just mentioned the front and just looking at, and not that I've studied them like you have, but just going through the draft process and knowing what these guys' skill sets are. You got some dudes who can run in that secondary with Zach Cunningham, David Long, and then obviously the guy I just mentioned, Christian Fulton. Like those guys can run and get after it. As they're going up against Mahomes, what's the key matchup for you? What's the not key matchup, but what's the key to that secondary from what you've seen between obviously covering the Titans and what they like to do defensively, and then what Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense has been so good with?
Yeah, I think, and I drew this up for Whiteboard Wednesday, how they like to isolate Travis Kelce backside. So it's going to really be about getting a body on him. And we talk about how he's so good against man or zone. You got to get a body on him. You can't allow him to get that free release, free access type of plays, because that's when he's at his best, when he's able to just weave through the secondary. So that's the key. These receivers are big, as you mentioned. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's essentially a tight end. He's just as big as these move tight ends. So you got to just rally to the football and tackle. That's the main thing. But you can't forget about Mecole Hardman and the deep speed that he has. I know it hasn't been ultra impactful, but that element is still there. And the Titans have struggled at times with giving up explosive plays. So that's something that they have to make sure they don't allow in this game.
Yeah, I know a lot of Chiefs fans will be paying attention to, I think he's number 19, the new guy, Kadarius Toney, joining the team. Don't know how much he's going to get in there, how many packages they'll have for him in this game. But you talk about explosive plays. It's reason that he's there. Give him a chance. I know Brett Veach and their crew giving him a chance. It's a very Brett Veach like move to make on a underperforming, you could say, first round pick that's not super expensive. Don't give up a lot of resources for him, and you put him in a situation where Coach Reed could figure out a way to get him open. I want to get your predictions on this game, put you on the spot a little bit after this quick break from a few of our sponsors. All right, we're here with Turron Davenport of ESPN breaking down the Chiefs and the Titans matchup. Turron, now it's time to put you on the spot a little bit. I know when you look at our DraftKings line, it's it's 2 possessions, and it's been fluctuating a little bit. First, before your prediction, do you think is that disrespectful to the Titans on what you see the line is right now, or do you think that's a fair line? Last I looked, it was 12.5.
Well, I think if you look at the Bills game, week 2, that was a complete embarrassment. So, and the offenses are similar as far as the explosiveness. So I don't think it's a disrespectful thing, especially with the question marks around Tannehill. I would expect that line to shift later this week. So, but the Titans wouldn't have it any other way. Jeffery Simmons, he told me, he said, man, it's me against the world. And I love having that mindset, and that's what it is. And yeah, everybody's picking them, but for me, it's about us.
Yeah. All right. What is your prediction, or what are you expecting to happen on Sunday night as best you could predict?
Well, Jeffery Simmons said everybody's picking them, meaning the Chiefs. I'm picking them too.
All right.
I would say 28-24. If I was a gambling person, I would definitely hammer that line. I think the Titans, you look, outside of that Bills game, everything for the most part has been a one-possession game. And they've played in more one-possession games than pretty much all other teams over the last, 3 years. So I think one-score game, differential. I would go that route. I say 28-24. I think Patrick Mahomes does something late, and they come back and they beat the Titans.
All right. I know the game obviously being at Arrowhead, we talked right off the top of the show. Andy Reid, 20-3 in his career, coming off a bye, 12-1 at home. But yeah, I hesitate to make predictions. I do, just because I always ask to tell people my predictions, but I couldn't have been more wrong for most of the season. Every time they go up against, the Buccaneers, who at the time were the number one scoring defense at the time when they played them. So this is not going to be a get right game, because I think it was right after the Colts game. I was like, the Bucs is not going to be a get right game for the Chiefs offense. It's going to be a grind it out. They're going to, struggle to put up points. So Chiefs fans, just lower your expectations for this, and they go out on fire and just do everything clicking offensively. And then they go up against the 49ers last game. And I was like, this is not going to be a get right game for the Chiefs offense. Like, these guys are good. They can do their thing. And then they come out absolutely on fire. And I'm hesitating the same thing against the Titans. Like, these guys can get after it up front, but every time I've said that, they've come out on absolute fire. I don't know if they just rise to the level or just the game plan being so good. I don't know what it is, but every time I've predicted the offense, like, hey, temper your expectations a little bit, they come out and absolutely light the world on fire. But Turron, man, appreciate you for joining us. Do you have any final thoughts or things that you think Chiefs fans should be aware of this Titan team going into this game on Sunday night?
I think it's all out there, man. Derrick Henry, that's what it is. Derrick Henry in defense, and that's just watch that, man. Watch that front, though. They are fun, man. They embarrass people, so it's going to be interesting watching that.
I've told the story a handful of times, but you'll appreciate as much as anybody that the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, I was a sideline reporter for the radio network, so I got to be down on the field. And my opinion, and I already like Tyrann Mathieu is one of my guys. I love Tyrann. I love what he's about. I love how he speaks his mind. My opinion of that, and I'll call him the little dude, because my opinion of that little dude changed the Titans game. There's a play that a tackle was made on the sideline, not more than 10 feet in front of me. And it was Derrick Henry, full speed. Tyrann runs up, hits him like right above the thigh, right around the thigh, brings him down on his own. They both get up and can't repeat what they were saying, but showing each other respect for the play that they both just made. And when I saw Derrick Henry stand up in front of Tyron to see how much bigger he was, I never looked at Tyron the same way again. I'm like, how did you at your size take that dude down as fast as I saw him running? And it's one thing to see a guy who's 6'4", 240, not in pads, but to see a dude in pads and how quickly they move. I never looked at Tyron the same way. I was just like, they are built different to go out there on that field and do what they do, man.
Absolutely, man. That's one of those guys that brings juice, man. He brings all juice. You could tell when he's on the field.
Absolutely. All right, man. That is Turron Davenport again. You can find him on Twitter at @TDavenport_NFL, covering the Titans. You can catch his content leading up to this matchup as well. And we'll have plenty more content here at KCSN getting you ready for that later today. You can find the defensive breakdown with Craig Stout, Mike DeVito, and the Chiefs all-time leading tackler, Derek Johnson, on our YouTube channel, breaking everything down. But we know there's a lot of great places to get your Chiefs content. We appreciate KC Sports Network being one of them, and we'll have you covered, like I said, up until Sunday night's game. Until then, we'll see y'all later.